Approaching first pitch. Pac-12 baseball presented by Rawlings. Champions choose Rawlings. Game 2 of the series. Temperatures in the 80s on a gorgeous Saturday afternoon here at Sunken Diamond on the farm. Although this is a little bit cool for Arizona.
It is. What is it, 80, 81, 82?
It's
right
warm.
now?
It's warm.
But it's warm.
For us softies from the Bay Area, this is warm.
But see, it's not, I mean, it's, well, you mentioned it, softies from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
But I'm not from here, just so you know.
So Joey Dixon on the mound for Stanford. Here's the lineup for Chip Hale and the Wildcats. And the lineup presented by the Graduate Hotels. And a deep lineup for the Wildcats. A little bit of a tweak is Emilio Corona will DH today. Tyler Casagrande in the lineup. And Cameron Laliberte also in the lineup for Arizona. But look at the fierce 3-4 combination of Chase Davis and Kiko Romero. Two potent bats for Arizona that Joey Dixon will have to deal with today.
Well, it's the #1 offense in the Pac-12 are the Wildcats, and they've been that way virtually from the start of the season. We watched the game last night, Roxy. You could argue it's one of the top 10 games we've done, ever worked together. It's just a beautiful game, back and forth. How the game was tied up, you guys saw it in the open with Nick McClary stealing home, but this is a team. Pay no attention to the record. Speaking of Arizona Wildcats, there is no head coach on the other side when they face and play against Arizona that's ever comfortable with the lead, ever, because of this offense that Arizona can produce.
So the top 2 offensive teams in the conference. We had a 9-8 game last night, about to start game 2. Again, a win for Stanford today, and the Cardinal are Pac-12 champions. Joey Dixon delivers. Ball 1 to get it started to Mac Bingham. And Bingham last night, good night at the plate. 3 doubles in the game, going 3 for 5, drove in 2 and scored 2. Dixon's 1-0 pitch is popped up, back behind the plate. Malcolm Moore gives it a look, but this will reach the seats. 1 ball, 1 strike. A look at Dixon. The junior from South Jordan, Utah, a suburb of Salt Lake City. Here's the 1-1. Good breaking ball that just missed. Appeal to first, no swing, says Nathan White. As Daryl Mason calling the balls and strikes. 2-1 on Bingham. And Dixon, he's got good stuff. He's only given up 52 hits in 57 innings this year. The problem has been the walks. 2-2.
Well, the walks you mentioned has been a problem of the Stanford pitching staff as a whole. The entire year, there's only one other team that has more walks than Stanford, and that happens to be Oregon.
2-2 from Dixon. There's a bouncer to third, handled by Tommy Troy, rifles it over to first, and that's how our ball game begins. One gone. Nick McClary coming up for the Wildcats. Arizona shortstop hitting .327 with 3 home runs. Joey Dixon, who had been the #3 Sunday starter for Stanford the majority of the season. But Thomas Eager, Stanford's pitching coach, along with David Esker, shaking things up here this weekend. And the plate umpire, Daryl Mason, asking Dixon to move the rosin back. Matt Scott had been working as the #2 guy, the freshman from Connecticut, with Dixon being the Sunday #3 guy. But Dixon going here on Saturday, the #2. And he delivers down low to McClary, ball 1.
Matt Scott was sensational earlier in the year for the Cardinal. And as it happens across the country in college baseball, a freshman pitcher at some point in time will hit a wall. And that wall means all of a sudden you lose your command, you lose your confidence, and et cetera, and that's what's happened right now for Matt Scott. But the Cardinal hope it's temporary.
2 balls, 1 strike on Nick McClary. As McClary had a good night at the plate as most people did, really, had a good night at the plate last night. 3 for 4, drove in 2, scored a run. He's hitting 7 of the last 8 for Arizona and skies his pitch pushing foul behind first base into the crowd. It was McClary who stole home, by the way, in the 8th inning last night to tie the game.
This was beautiful. Well, actually, this was up at Oregon State 2 weekends ago where McClary steals home with a right-hander on the mound. This is last night. Drew Dowd, the left-hand pitcher, is on the mound for Stanford. And before he even knows it, McClary crossed the plate to tie the game up. It was just beautiful.
Breaking ball stays high and a full count on McClary. It's McClary, the senior from Rockland, up near Sacramento, and a transfer from Sacramento Community College. Payoff from Dixon, and McClary turns on it and hooks it foul. And on a warm day like today, here at Sunken Diamond, the ball is going to jump. It is going to fly.
It is, but I will tell you, warm, it's kind of understatement right now because I'm locked in right now on the sun, sitting here. You're protected for some reason.
Bouncer toward the whole left side, diving stop, Tommy Troy to his feet. Tremendous play by Tommy Troy.
Well, there's a lot of scouts the last 2 weekends of the year and into the Pac-12 tournament and postseasons. Why? Because the draft's coming up, and this youngster here is on everybody's board. Very versatile, can play anywhere on the infield, and this is why. He has played second base. He's over at third now. If you wanted to play him at shortstop, which is where he's playing right now with Chase Davis coming to the dish, he can play anywhere. And then, of course, we know he can hit.
367 for Davis with 16 home runs. Joey Dixon's first pitch bounced into the shift. Carter Graham, first baseman, underhands to Dixon. 3 groundouts, 1, 2, 3 go the Cats. Stanford coming to bat. An efficient first for Joey Dixon. Now the Cardinal coming to bat against the lefty. Braden Zastro on the mound for Arizona. The lineup for David Esker. And the Stanford Cardinal, presented by Graduate Hotels. And Stanford leads the Pac-12 in home runs. And the deep lineup, in fact, Owen Cobb in the 9th spot in the order, homered last night. But I don't think anybody's as hot as Alberto Rios right in the middle of that Stanford part of the order.
Well, coming into last night's game, he was tied for the team lead in RBIs, but Alberto Rios wasn't even slated to be an everyday player this year for David Esker's Cardinal, but boy, he has made everybody a believer. He's one of the best in the entire country. As we take a look at Braden Zastro, take a look at his numbers. 58 innings pitched right on the button, 22 walks, which has been a problem for him, 48 punch-outs, and then, of course, the ERA at 5.12. But speaking of ERAs, who would believe that Arizona Wildcats' team ERA is better than the Stanford Cardinal?
Not many people would, considering that Stanford is 19-6 in Pac-12 play, but Braden Zastro, this is your typical college lefty, right? He's going to pound the zone, he's going to throw strikes, he's going to make you put the ball in play, he's going to change speeds and make it uncomfortable for you.
He is.
Eddie Park looks at a strike from Zastro as the junior lefty from Farmington, New Mexico, a transfer from Pima Community College.
Now, this Farmington as a city doesn't sound like it's a place that would be in New Mexico, does it?
Farmington?
Yeah, it sounds like it would be in Iowa.
Or somewhere, yeah, in Illinois,
Midwest,
Missouri.
Idaho.
I don't know how you got Idaho in there when you're talking Midwest.
Well, I didn't say Midwest. You said that,
and
I said Idaho. Farmington, Idaho makes more sense than Farmington, New Mexico.
0-2 on Eddie Park, hitting .333 with 4 home runs. Park 1 for 4 last night. .333 overall, but .351 in league play. And he bounces this one over the mound, ranging over. And the second baseman, Mason White, handles it to take care of Eddie Park, and there's one away. So 1 gone. Here comes Tommy Troy. Brilliant play by Troy on the bounding ball hit by Nick McClary, the top of the inning. And Troy, even though he made the tough error last night that opened the door for Arizona to come back and tied it, he started that rally in the 9th inning and scored the winning run for Stanford.
Well, he did. It was a big 1-2 count. It was a 1-2 count on him, and he got a pitch up in the zone. and then he feathered it into center field for that leadoff single, and then the rest is history.
2-0 on Tommy Troy, 382 with 10 homers for Troy. He's hit in 8 of the last 9 games. He's scored a run in 7 straight games. In fact, in the last 7 games, he has scored 14 runs. 2-0 from Zastro. Got it in on the hands. Out to center, routine for Mac Bingham, and there's 2 gone.
Well, speaking of reaching base, right, there was a streak broken last night. Some will blame it on me.
I guarantee you the Arizona coaching staff is blaming it on you.
Well, you can go through the story, because I don't feel like it was my fault, but...
Carter Graham has hit safely in 13 straight. Multi-hit in 8 of the last 13. 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run last night. Drove in 7, homered twice Tuesday in their 20-run outburst and a win at Santa Clara. On the road against the Broncos, and Graham lines it to left. That sinks in front of Chase Davis and extends the hitting streak. Took out the drama right away, so 14 in a row with a hit for Carter Graham. And a 2-out base runner for Stanford to get Braden Montgomery to the plate.
I'm not sure Chase Davis really had a real good beat on that off the bat, because ultimately when that ball bounces, it doesn't look too far. You see him right there. He hesitates just a little bit, and there it is right in front of him. And if you asked him, he'd probably tell you, if I just took off after it right off the bat, I might have caught that thing.
2 outs, short lead for Graham at first base. As Braden Montgomery, the switch hitter, batting right against the lefty, Zastro takes strike 1.
Well, Carter is a big man, Carter Graham at first, 6'2", but he will run.
He's got some wheels. He's got
run.
some deceptive speed. Just off the outside.
What is deceptive speed? Because when you think about it,
Well, deceptive speed for somebody is you look at them
visually,
and you don't think they can run.
Well, like me.
Well, we know you can't run.
Yeah, but that's not true. See, that's not fair. But deceptive speed is what you're talking about.
There's a drive to center. Going back is Bingham. Still going back. Mac Bingham looks up, gone off the batter's eye. Straightaway center. Braden Montgomery is 13th of the year. He's homered now in each of the last 3 games for Stanford, and it's 2-0 Cardinal.
Well, Montgomery, in February and March, you could argue he was the best hitter in college baseball. And then his last 30 games, he was hitting cumulative about 270. Last night and now his first at bat today, it looks like Braden Montgomery is back.
Two-run blast to dead center. You don't see many home runs to dead center here at Stanford.
No, you do not.
Alberto Rios skies this one, playable in right center. Roaming over is Mac Bingham. Puts it away, side retired, but the Cardinals strike here in the first. Braden Montgomery with a blast. 2-0 Stanford to the second. Two nothing lead, courtesy of Braden Montgomery, who crushed one to center field onto the, about a third of the way up on that batter's eye out there in dead center. And the power hitting, switch hitting right fielder for Stanford and last year's Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. Montgomery, who had the Stanford freshman record 18 homers last year, and he's now homered each of the last 3 games, and that was his 13th of the year. So a 2-0 lead for the Cardinal. Here in the Arizona second, it'll be Kiko Romero, Emilio Corona, Mason White, middle third of the order. As Romero, 1 for 5 with a double last night, 360 on the year, and he's driven in 68, and he waves at it for strike 1.
Well, he transferred into Arizona last year from a junior college in Arizona, and all he has done is lead the Pac-12 in RBIs this year.
Good breaking ball drops in there from Dixon. 0-2 the count on Romero. As Kiko Romero. Last year he was the National Junior College World Series MVP. Put up video game-like numbers at the JC level. And he drives this one out towards center. Going back and toward the alleyway is Eddie Park. And he makes the catch, stepping onto the warning track in deep right center. And again, we talk about on a day like today with the weather in the 80s like it is at Sunken Diamond, we're seeing balls jump.
Yeah, well, you look at the flags out in center field, or actually the one flag, and it's just limp.
Emilio Corona, the DH, played in the outfield last night. As Corona, who began his college career at Washington, a couple of years in Seattle, files this one back, then went to the junior college ranks and transferred to Arizona.
A couple of weekends ago, Corona hit 3 home runs in one game against Oregon State. By the way, what do you think his nickname is?
Cerveza?
I don't know. I'm just wondering. I mean,
in the air to right, playable for Braden Montgomery coming in. And Joey Dixon's retired the first 5 Wildcats. In this one, there's 2 away.
There's a lot of options, though, right, for a nickname for Corona.
If I was him, well, of course, a nickname somebody has to give it to you.
Lime, you could call him.
Masfina.
Go ahead.
La Cerveza Masfina, the Corona tagline.
Okay, you could, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just, it's unlimited. It could be, you could have a nickname for him every day of the week.
Coors Light. Mason White fouls it back.
Oh my goodness. Although a Corona is like a gold, it's a crown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could call him King.
307 for Mason White, Arizona second baseman. And it's 1 ball, 1 strike on White, as the freshman from Tucson, who's a 3rd-generation Wildcat baseball player, by the way. 1-1 to Mason White.
That's some lineage.
Now, did you play with his grandfather?
You know, I turned left. Folks, if you can't see us here, but I turned left when he said that, and I'm looking at him, and I said, I know what was coming. I knew it was coming.
Well, his dad played in the mid-'90s, Ben White, for the Wildcats. And Grandpa Tim, and as Tommy Troy with a nice play over near the Arizona dugout to make the catch. 6 up, 6 down for Joey Dixon. 2-0 Stanford to home second. 2-0 Cardinal to the bottom of the second. Again, a win by Stanford today, and they are Pac-12 champions. And for the Cardinal, it'll be Malcolm Moore, Drew Bowser, Jake Sapien due up in the home second against Braden Zastro. And people are going, oh, wait, there's the tournament. The automatic berth goes to the tournament. Yes, that's true. But whoever wins the tournament, you're the Pac-12 tournament champion. And nothing against the tournament. Winning the tournament title is a significant accomplishment, don't get me wrong. But I've always valued the regular season title. And when you look at the history books, they recognize, now granted it's only the 2nd annual baseball tournament, but over the years with basketball, whoever wins the regular season, they're the Pac-12 champions.
That's the way it should be, and I agree 100%.
You agree with me?
Okay,
Malcolm Moore takes ball 1.
Don't anybody DVD this one thing, or DVR.
DVR. What?
Well, whatever. I mean, tape it, record it. I mean, everybody here's the way I look at it. If you understand what I'm trying to say, then I've done a good job. That's all. But
fouled off by Malcolm Moore, drove in the winning run. Sack fly in the bottom of the 9th last night.
You know, I was talking to David Esker before the game, and
now they won both last year. They were the regular season, so they were the Pac-12 champions, and they won the Pac-12 tournament. Right. The inaugural one at Scottsdale last year.
Now, I mean, we're not going to sugarcoat this, and it's a good thing for college baseball to play some more baseball, to have another tournament at the end of the year, to possibly help somebody that was on the bubble meaning
good pitch by Zastro.
The top 64 teams, the committee will determine, but if somebody's on the bubble, let's say they're on the bubble 66, 65, 67, and they're in the pack and they have a good tournament, that'll get them in. So it's a great thing across the country.
Moore bouncer to first, waiting on it is Kiko Romero.
Biological warper.
To the pitcher Braden Zastro covering for out number 1.
But to your point, I mean, I really think that in order to host, and there's 16 regionals across the country, so there's 16 hosts. I think all the hosts should be winners of conferences. That's what I think, personally. I don't think you should have, for me, I'd rather have 16 hosts that won their conference. Doesn't matter the level, they're D1.
Drew Bowser fouls this one away as Bowser, a couple of hits last night, scored a run, and he's riding a 10-game hitting streak right now. And he's seen the average jump from 248 up to 276 during the surge. In fact, Bowser's driven in 9 in the last 7 games. And a bat that's coming around here in May for David Esker.
So are you all right with my philosophy on this?
I do. I'm not going to agree with saying that you have to be a conference champion to host, but I do believe, Wes, that there should be, as Bowser fouls that one off, an awkward swing. But I do believe it should be valued when they're deciding the 16 sites.
Mm-hmm.
That should factor in, like, if you're weighing this team against that team, and Team Y is a conference champion, but Team X is not, and it's close, I would give it to Team Y because they're the conference champion.
Okay, but now there's 30 Division I conferences.
Bowser rips that one off the glove of the lunging third baseman Tony Bullard down the left field line. Bowser on his way to second, an 11-game hitting streak for Drew Bowser. And Bullard made a great effort. He is a terrific defensive third baseman. He just couldn't get to it.
Well, he's 6'4". I mean, Kyle Carroll's and him, basically of UCLA, basically have the same mold. But you take a look at this. This is what a hot hitter looks like. It's fastball in, quick hands. It's a barrel out in front. Bullard does a great job just to knock it down, as you mentioned. And then McClary goes and picks it up. But by the time McClary picks it up, Bowser's on second base. But there's 30 Division I baseball conferences, so you only need 16 sites to host a regional. I would have to think that you could probably get 16 deserving teams. And again, I understand about the RPI, which is ratings percentage index, and how the SEC is kind of loaded with a bunch of great teams. The PAC's got a bunch of great teams. The ACC's got a bunch of great teams. But that said, if they're as great as we think, send them on the road. Grow the game. Send them to a Houston Baptist if they happen to win.
You mean Dallas Baptist?
No, well, Houston. But Houston, I'm just saying, any team. Dallas Baptist, Houston Baptist, you could send them to Troy. Whoever is
John the Baptist?
Something, whatever. But my point is that send them on the road to a Southern Miss. Let them host if they won their conference. Send them to the Ivy League champion if they get qualified to get in.
3-0 to Jake Sapien. It's in there for a strike.
If they're that good, they'll win.
Sapien hitting .312 with 3 homers, drove in a run last night. In fact, a couple of homers and 6 batted in during the last 5 games. Sapien's driven in a run in 4 straight games for Stanford. Runner at second, 1 out, 2-0 Cardinal, last of the second inning. And Sapien lined it to center right at Mac Bingham. And Bowser, halfway to third, retreats, and there's 2 away. Sapien hit it down the nose right at Bingham. And to the 9-hitter, Owen Cobb, who homered here last night. 339, 6 homers for the senior shortstop from Seattle. As Owen Cobb is homered in 2 straight games and a modest 4-game hitting streak right now for the senior.
How many 9-hole hitters across the country hitting 339?
Not many. Drew Bowser at second, and Cobb bounces one to short. Nick McClary stays with a high hop, and he throws out Cobb, and the Cardinal are gone here in the second. 1 hit, 1 left. 2-0, Stanford through 2. Bottom of the order for the Cats as we go to the third. Speaking of the Pac-12 baseball tournament, the second installment comes your way in a couple of weeks, May 23rd through 27th. Actually, a little less than a week and a half from now. Right. Scottsdale Stadium, spring training home of the Giants. The site for the Pac-12 baseball tournament. The top 9 teams qualify. To get your tickets, to see who's going to hoist the trophy, go to pac-12.com/tickets. Hope to see you in Scottsdale. The majority of the tournament broadcast right here on Pac-12 Network, with the championship game on the Saturday night on ESPNU.
Will I have to sit next to you then, too?
Tony Bullard takes inside from Joey Dixon. 296, 8 homers for the senior third baseman Bullard. Not if I have something to say about it. Our boss is here today. I should bring it up with David Cup.
Well, you could.
Good curve, locked him up from Dixon, 1-1, and Bullard. Tony Bullard had a good night at the plate last night. 2 for 2, walked twice. He scored 3 runs. And the 1-1 pitch outside. And here's an interesting breakdown for Bullard. I forgot to ask Chip Hale about this pregame today. But Tony Bullard has walked 9 times in the last 7 games.
Okay.
2-1. Bullard reaches for it out to center. Going back and toward left center, Eddie Park makes the catch. But prior to the last 7 games, do you know how many times Tony Bullard had walked this season?
0?
4. I'm just wondering if there was a conscious adjustment on his part to be more selective, to work the count a little bit more. I'll get the answer tomorrow. How's that?
Yeah, I thought you were asking me to give you my opinion on
Okay, give me your opinion.
I don't have one right now. You didn't ask me. You're going to wait till tomorrow.
Well, I'm going to ask his coach.
No, forget it.
Cameron Laliberte, the batter, and the catcher looks at a strike. 336 for Laliberte. Did not play here last night. Makes a start here in game 2. He's reached base in 16 straight for the Wildcats.
Well, I will tell you this.
Fooled him there.
All joking aside, the better you feel at the plate, the better you see the baseball, right? And so I think that has a lot to do with how affectionately they call him Bull, Tony Bullard, has swung the bat much better the last couple of weeks.
It's funny, we call you Bull. That's for a different reason, though.
You know,
because you're a resemblance to Richard Mole.
You know, I need a fan club just for help. This is abuse, is all this is. Where's Bill Walton? I mean,
don't look at him for help, believe me.
You know, we need Bill in the middle of us. I mean, this would be beautiful if we get Bill in the middle of
the deck company's got to be playing somewhere.
Well, I know, but could you imagine if we got him for the Pac-12 tournament? Just that.
Strike 3 called to Cameron Laliberte. First strikeout for Joey Dixon. And Dixon's retired the first 8 Wildcats today. There's 2 gone for Tyler Casagrande.
It's a fastball on the outside part, and it's just pinpoint perfection on the outside part. Just locks them up. And how about the efficiency? Just 31 pitches, and we're an out away from 3 innings.
2 gone. Casagrande, 266 for the veteran outfielder, the senior from Leesburg, Virginia. Swings to the first pitch, pops it up in the infield. Waiting for it to come down near the bag at second base. Owen Cobb sidestepping. 9 up, 9 down for Dixon. Top of the order for the Cardinals as we go to the last of the 3rd. Stanford behind a Braden Montgomery first inning 2-run blast, leading the Arizona Wildcats 2-0. Top of the order for Stanford against Braden Zastro here in the 3rd. Eddie Park, Tommy Troy, Carter Graham. And a win for Stanford today, and the Cardinal Pac-12 champions. And that says a lot considering they'll have won the league title, Wes, with a full weekend and a game to go.
That said, they were predicted and projected to win this conference. I mean, they were loaded last year. They came in as, you could argue they have 6 legitimate first-team All-Americans. Could have been All-Americans, the first 6 kids they run up in the lineup.
Eddie Park, a ground out in the first. Local kid from San Jose. Eddie Park, left-handed swinger, left-on-left matchup, shows bunt. And he takes down and in for a ball. And Eddie Park had a ridiculous run through the postseason last year for Stanford. As Park, who was the Stanford Regional Most Outstanding Player, he went 14 for 20 here in the Regional.
Well, he's a tremendous baseball player, and he's been compared by scouts, myself. We've had this discussion to Stephen Kwan, the former center fielder for the Oregon State Beavers, who is now Terry Francona's center
playing
fielder.
For your former roommate.
But you didn't have to say that. But with that said,
nice play on the mound, speared by Zastro, underhands for the out.
They're very, very similar, although different. Because I think you could argue that Stephen Kwan's faster and more of Austin Overn. If you guys haven't seen Austin Overn play, he's a very fast, quick twitch player. Eddie Park is a solid, steady baseball player.
Eddie Park's a good defensive player, don't get me wrong. Stephen Kwan, to me, is an exceptional defensive player.
Okay.
Tommy Troy, the batter, a fly out of the first. Swings to the first pitch and lines it down the left field side, fair toward the corner. It's the bag. Troy on his way to second, dug out by Chase Davis. And Tommy Troy, a one-out double. And Stanford has 4 hits. 3 of them have gone for extra bases already.
Well, if you're a MLB scout, which there's a ton, and they're watching this youngster probably more than anybody because he's going to be the highest projected draft pick on this Cardinal team, but this is why. I mean, he can play anywhere, and when he gets in the box, he is aggressive, and he does not miss mistakes.
Carter Graham, a single and a run on the first, and offers at the first pitch. Fly ball. Behind Furs, backpedaling in a shallow right. A nice job by the first baseman, Romero, going back on that pop-up, which was not an easy play. Look, you're a former first baseman. You know how challenging that play
well,
is.
I mean, we'll get to me. What would have happened if I had that play down the road here. But that play right there, if you ever want to know if a baseball player needs to be athletic, that right there is a perfect example. I mean, hopefully down the road we can get a look at that. But he's got to adjust, does Kiko, as he's going back on that ball. And as you mentioned, it got blown back into fair territory.
Braden Montgomery homered in the first. Takes ball 1.
But a lot of times, you know, first baseman, everybody thinks that you can just put anybody over. You can't. You really can.
Well, Jerry Kindle clearly did with you.
God love you, Roxy. I mean, I had to tell you, you're on a roll today. Boy, I tell you what, I need a medic. I have so many bruises all over me already. But with that said, you're right. I mean, you know, my teammates on that ball right there, when I played, nary a one did not get up to get on the rail to see a disaster could happen. It could hit me in the head or anything. Everybody got up. But when I caught it, they were kind of like depressed. Because, well, wait a second, they were waiting for me to run into a fence, have the ball hit my head, a la Jose Canseco in right field, something like that for the home run. But, yeah, you know how I ended up playing first? It's a true story. God rest his soul, Jerry Kindle, J.K. affectionately known. We were playing fall ball. I was an outfielder when I went to Arizona. And he was fundamentally sound coach. So he didn't like anything that wasn't fundamentally perfect. I would one-hand catches in the outfield. He didn't like it. So
Montgomery in the air to right, going back is Casagrande, still going back, up against the fence, makes the catch, and in typical Wes Clemens fashion, you start a story with 2 outs. Wes will finish the story. How did Wes end up at first base? That's the tease, ladies and gentlemen. 2-0 Stanford, courtesy of Braden Montgomery in the first. Our Graduate Hotel's great moment as he takes Braden Zastro over the center field wall.
well, and if you didn't know, he's a switch hitter. Just so everyone understands, he's got power from both sides. But just a tremendous baseball player. And scouts, they want him now, but they can't have him until next year. They cannot draft that youngster until next year.
Arizona looking for a base runner, 9 up, 9 down against Joey Dixon so far. So Mac Bingham, Nick McClary, Chase Davis duo. Against the Stanford righty, it was struck out 1. And Mac Bingham takes in the dirt. All right, finish your story of how you ended up as an Arizona
So we're
first
playing
baseman.
fall ball, and if you don't know what fall ball is the first year you go to a college and you enroll. Obviously, you play a fall league, and this fall ball you play inter squads and things like that. Well, JK, in the middle of a game, came out after I caught a ball. And this is in the middle of the game. I caught a ball one-handed. He ran all the way out, and I was scared to death. I mean, you think about the head coach. I didn't know if I could play at Arizona, if I was good enough. But I saw him running at me, sprinting from the dugout, and everybody's turning and looking at. And he went out and looked at me, about 3 inches away from my face. He said, "If you ever drop a ball one-handed, you will never play outfield again, and you're going to play first base." And He scared me to death.
And at 4 pitches, Mac Bingham draws a walk, and the Cats have their first base runner as Bingham aboard for Nick McClary.
So it only took 2 games for me to drop a ball, and that was it.
2 games?
Yeah, he scared me to death because every time a ball went up, I kept thinking I was going to drop it.
And you had the yips.
Kind of. And then I went to first, and then of course I had permanent yips over there. So, and the rest is history.
Nick McClary grounded out in the first, the Arizona shortstop. First time from the stretch for Dixon, and buries that one in the dirt. He's missed with 5 in a row now to start the 4th after breezing through the first 3 innings.
Well, that's the whole thing, is that you as a pitcher, you can breeze against this Arizona lineup, but
one at a time, maybe.
Just like that, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's why this Arizona team leads the conference in batting average.
Look, last year we saw Adam Crampton from Stanford. He was the defensive player of the year in this conference.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good defensive players in this league. I don't think there's a better defensive player than Nick McClary. I think Nick McClary should be the favorite to be defensive player of the year in this conference.
Well, he has been so good, and you could take him all the way back to 2 years ago when Jay Johnson was head coach at Arizona and they made that run to Omaha. Nick was put in to that situation where he had to play shortstop, and he looked like a veteran, and that's what he looks like. That's who he is. As a manager, as a head coach, you hope that you have, when you put your lineup out every day, a couple, 2 or 3 spaces to where you just know you can pencil guys in, and you never have to look at them ever again during the game because you know they're going to do the right thing. Nick McClary is that guy, one of the guys that Chip Hale has. It's a good slider right there by Dixon, but
look, frankly, that team in 21 that went to Omaha, but oddly enough, they played Stanford in the College World Series.
Mm-hmm.
But that team stunk defensively. They were not a good defensive team.
That's it. Pretty harsh. But
am I wrong?
Well, they struggled. Yes, they did.
Diving back is big. But he was the guy, McClary, that held everything together for them. Because they had some weaknesses defensively, but up the middle, he was a strength for Arizona.
He did. I mean, he made a lot of good plays in that regional and the super against Ole Miss.
McClary, double play ball. Drew Bowser to Owen Cobb onto first. Got him. 2 for the Cardinal as McClary grounds into the 4-6-3.
Just for a second, it looked like Bowser at second had a tough time getting a handle of the baseball, but it works out good for the Cardinal.
2 outs for Chase Davis, who grounded out in the first.
But you mentioned McClary, right? He's stolen home twice this year. Who's done that?
And 2 straight steals of home. It's not like the back end of a double steal. Here's Davis, who had his string of 59 consecutive games reaching base come to an end last night.
You don't believe in jinxes, do you?
You better not.
Well, they're going to try to blame it on me. You never finished that story whether they're going to blame it on me, but
they were talking about it around the cage, tell you that. 2-0 the count on Davis.
I was.
And I shouldn't shortchange either, by the way, the 21 team. Dante Williams was a brilliant center fielder.
My goodness gracious, was he amazing. He really was.
But you had him and McClary, but just about everywhere else, they had some issues defensively.
Well, don't forget Tony Bullard, good fastball in there.
But Tony Bullard was good then. He's an exceptional third baseman now. He's really worked at it and really improved defensively.
But when you think about Arizona, they come into this game tonight or today, is it?
Davis sneaks out of the glove of, that's Owen Cobb, the shortstop. Davis takes a wide turn. Will go back to first as with the shift on, the shortstop Cobb was on the right side. And that will be a hit. And the first hit for Arizona as Davis is on with 2 outs here in the 4th.
Well, ideally, as an infielder, when you backhand a ball, you want to be backhanding a ball because you cannot get in front of this baseball. You see the swing right here, but I bet you if you asked Owen Cobb, could he have moved his feet maybe and got in front of that ball, he'd probably tell you yeah. Because that backhand right there, he basically kind of overran the backhand.
Swing and a miss by Kinko Romero, will fly out in the second.
But when Arizona hired Chip Hale was an outstanding defensive player. So you just knew right off the bat that was going to be one of the things that Chip Hale concentrated on. We got to catch a ball, and they do catch a ball.
Got under it, pop up. Carter Graham looking for it, didn't see it immediately, now locates it. And over near the coaching box, puts it away. Side retired, one hit, one left. We head to the home fourth on the farm. Stanford up 2-0. On to the last of the fourth inning, and for the Cardinal, Alberto Rios, Malcolm Moore, Drew Bowser against Braden Zastro. Braden Montgomery, a 2-run homer in the first for the only runs of the ball game to this point. So Rios hit the ball well and a fly out the center is first at bat today. Rios multi-hits in 6 of the last 7 games, and he's riding a 10-game hitting streak. And he takes a strike, a good off-speed from Zastro. Last 10 games for Alberto Rios, he is 22 for 40. 6 home runs, 16 driven in, and he has scored 12 runs. And he was full there, it's 0-2. In conference play, so Rios hitting .386 overall. The reigning Pac-12 player of the week. Alberto Rios is hitting .419 in conference play.
It's pretty good.
And he hits a soft liner over the leaping shortstop McClary. And a leadoff single for Rios to start the home fourth. And for Rios, that is now an 11-game hit streak.
Well, he's just turned into a really good baseball player overall, but just a tremendous hitter. He's been so consistent for the Cardinals when others of this Cardinal lineup have not. He's been the most consistent hitter from start to finish the entire year.
Malcolm Moore, the batter, ground out in the second. 5 hits now for Stanford. It's fouled away by the catcher Moore. Game-winning sac fly for the freshman. 2 times, by the way, Malcolm Moore, the Gatorade California High School Player of the Year. Twice.
Well, I find it fascinating that he won it as a junior. I mean, think about that, folks. All the seniors in high school.
Backhanded, nice play. Romero could be 2. Nick McClary turns it. Covering is Zastro. 2 for Arizona. They return the favor and get the double play. And a nice job by the pitcher to find first base. Zastro was struggling to find the bag.
He was, but you know
Romero
what?
on the backhand too.
I'll hang this on being left-handed, right? I mean, we always say that left-handers are a little bit quirky. You'll see it right here, but if you ask McClary at shortstop, he probably had more time because Malcolm Moore is running. He could have taken this time just a little bit more to let Zastro get over there and feel comfortable, but I just file that under left-handed stuff.
Drew Bowser doubled in the second. And he checks his swing, appeal to first. No, says Nathan White down at first base. So Bowser now an 11-game hitting streak with that double. Way outside, ball 2. 2-0 the count. Drew Bowser. So Zastro goes from an abbreviated windup. And the 2-0 offering. Bowser out toward left center field. And Chase Davis have to play it on a bounce. And Bowser is 2 for 2. So Bowser, we told you he's got an 11-game hit streak already. He's got multi-hits in 7 of these 11 games during the run.
Well, as a skipper, when you go into a series, we'll take a look at this. There's a ball up in the zone, and Drew doesn't miss it. But prior to a series starting, you will go through your opponent's lineup and go, hey, all right, these guys, this guy, these 2 guys, I don't want us late in the game. I'm not going to give them a chance to beat us.
Jake Sapien.
So when you go through the Arizona lineup, you're thinking, okay, Chase Davis not going to beat me. Kiko Romero's not going to beat me, okay? That's an obvious. So that's, if you're going to play Arizona, that guy, those two guys, late in the game, bases open, we're going to put them on, not let them beat us. When you go to Stanford's lineup, okay, Eddie Park, we don't want him to beat us. Okay. Tommy Troy, we don't want him to beat us. Carter Graham, we don't want him to beat us. Braden Montgomery, don't want him to beat us. Alberto Rios, don't want him to beat us. Drew Bowser, if he's hot, don't want him to beat us. So now what?
Not many outs to find.
You can't, and Roxy talks about them outs, and it's no disrespect to them in the lineup if you're hitting 7, 8, 9 or whatever, but there is no free spaces in this lineup for Stanford, albeit Arizona leads the conference in hitting.
We grounded ashore, charging McClary, but it was off the front foot of Jake Sapien, a foul ball. So we'll do it again. 2-2, Jake Sapien, the DH, here with 2 outs in the last of the 4th inning.
Get a look at it right here, off the toe.
Two balls, 2 strikes on Sapien, who's become entrenched now as the Stanford DH. With his run recently, bounces this one. Nice job, Nick McClary ranging far to his right, and then throws to get him at first, rather far to his left. And the stretch by Romero, but what a play by McClary ranging up the middle. And you wonder why I'm pimping him for Defensive Player of the Year.
This is the last play that ends the last inning, and Nick McClary's got to go behind second base. And you talk about athleticism
and range.
And Roxy just talked about how stellar he has been. But watch the play on the back end by Kiko Romero. He goes out maybe a little bit early, but he basically, his athleticism allows him to stay on the bag and make that pick. Just great on both ends right there. And you were just talking about first basemen, they're not athletic and stuff.
I didn't say they were not athletic. I said that was a great play by Romero. I was just talking about you. Popped up by Emilio Corona, back toward the screen, and Malcolm Moore overran it. And tried to adjust and just couldn't reach it. A break for the Wildcats and another opportunity for Emilio Corona. 5, 6, and 7 for the Cats here in the 5th. Mason White, Tony Bullard to follow.
Well, that ball, and a catcher, any kind of pop-up behind a catcher, you're taught, okay, turn around, pick up the ball, and just wait where you're at, because the ball spin is going to bring it back towards you. And as you mentioned, Malcolm just overran that ball, and that's how you will overrun it when you start to run after it. You basically just stop, wait till it hits the peak, and then you'll slowly...
This is in play for Tommy Troy coming over and in, and he puts it away, out number 1. Mason White fouled out his first time today.
Boy, the campus is full today, right? I mean, bunch of stuff going on.
They have the Stanford powwow going on, which has been an annual tradition here on the farm.
Would you believe that I got lost in here today?
I'm shocked. Wait a second, Wes. You got lost going somewhere?
Yeah, well,
that never happens.
I got lost pretty bad too, because when this wonderful lady, I stopped and I said, I got to tell you, I'm lost. And she said, well, where do you want to go? And I said, the baseball stadium. She goes, you really are lost.
The 1-0 to Mason White. You know, there's this thing, it's a pretty cool app, Wes. It's called Google Maps.
Yeah, well,
right? You plug in where you want to go, and it tells you how to get there. It's really neat.
I don't like Google Maps. I like the
Then try
Apple.
Waze.
I don't want Waze. I use my Apple phone.
There's a ball hit well to right, crushed by Mason White. Long gone for the freshman second baseman to get Arizona on the board. 5th for Mason White. And he destroyed that pitch from Joey Dixon.
Well, he's a youngster, right? He's a local Tucson kid who dreamt about playing for the University of Arizona, and he has been very, very good in his young Arizona Wildcat career, and he does not miss this one at all.
Number 5 for Mason White. 2-1 Stanford now with the Wildcats getting a run back. Tony Bullard tries to punch one the other way, but a diving stop by Carter Graham leads Dixon to the bag. One more look at the Mason White bomb.
You'll never see a ball hit hard without the bat head out in front of the plate, and that's what you see right there. Mason knows it, and for that matter, Braden Montgomery knows it as well.
He annihilated that pitch. You do your trot there, Mason White. You've earned it. Cameron Laliberte struck out in the 3rd. It's Dixon, the pitch. And that one sweeps down low for ball 1. A lot of important games in the next to last weekend in the Pac-12.
Big time.
Laliberte out to center. The bloop. That's going to parachute in, eludes the diving Cobb. And that'll be a hit for Laliberte with 2 outs. And Arizona will take it. Bloop hit to center, and Laliberte is on. And the worst, it gets your 9-hitter to the plate. Casagrande can turn your lineup over for the next inning.
Watch the effort here by Owen Kopp. I mean, it's a great effort. And here we say Owen Kopp was not slated to be the shortstop this year, and boy, what a find. I mean, Alberto Rios, same thing.
Tyler Casagrande, a pop out in the 3rd. Runner goes, throw down a second for Moore. Got him at second base. Close play.
They might review this one.
Laliberte looking around going, I may have beat it. And a one-hopper from Malcolm Moore for the out. And the Wildcats will not challenge. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Arizona's on the board. Number 6, Stanford leads Arizona. The Cardinal again a win today, and they are Pac-12 champions. One more look at Cameron Laliberte thrown out trying to steal to end the top of the 5th.
Well, I think you were a little bit surprised, as I was, Roxy, that Arizona decided not to review this. Now, some might say, well, it looks like Laliberte came off the bag and maybe got tagged. But if that was the case, second base umpire would have said that and indicated with his hand. Got him, got him, got him. It's a 2-1 game in the 5th, right?
Yeah.
It's a big out.
And that is potential runner in scoring position as the tying run here in a 1-run game. 9-1-2 for the Cardinal, Owen Cobb, followed by the top of the order, Eddie Park, Tommy Troy in the Stanford 5th against Braden Zastro. Final game of the series coming your way tomorrow. Noon with the finale of the series is the Wildcats will pitch a right-hander tomorrow as Aiden May will make the start. Stanford has not decided who they'll pitch. Now, Matt Scott has been in the rotation the majority of the year, but I don't think Stanford is going to throw him, at least in a starting role this weekend.
No,
We'll see.
I think they're going to try to get him in some games from the pen.
Owen Cobb takes a strike.
And see if he can, speaking of Matt Scott, if he can regain the form that he had in February and March. Because they're going to need him.
Definitely.
If they're going to make a long run, I mean, this kid is a beast on the mound. Tall kid, about 6'7", and had a lot of success in fall ball against the A team. This lineup we're talking about, Stanford, I mean, he's going to be a good one.
0-2 on Cobb, grounded out in the 2nd. Stanford shortstop, the senior from Seattle. Senior day as well tomorrow as he chased that one. And at 3 pitches, Zastro gets the strikeout, and his first strikeout of the game. And one gone. In the home 5th, back to the top of the order, Eddie Park.
Get a look at this pitch from Zastro. Change up on the outside part, similar to what we saw last night from Quinn Matthews on that change up on the outside part.
Eddie Park, couple of groundouts. Stanford center fielder is 0 for 2 as Zastro delivers. And a good breaking ball that just missed. The 1-0. That's in the dirt to Eddie Park, ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes. So some big games going on in the Pac-12, and certainly Arizona's interested in what's happening across the Bay with teams jockeying for position to secure their spot at the Pac-12 tournament. As again, the top 9 teams qualified. 2 will not be going to Scottsdale. Last year was the top 8. Altered format, 9 teams are going this year. 3-0 in Eddie Park. Zastro, the pitch. And he walked, losing Eddie Park on 4. And it's a 1-out base runner, and for the lefty Zastro, the first walk he has issued. And Park is aboard for Tommy Troy. Here is the field, so the tournament expanding this year. 3 pools to advance to the semifinals on Friday, the championship Saturday night.
Well, you think about just adding that 9th team, you think about the drama we have in the last 2 weekends, right? 3 teams are fighting for 1 spot, Arizona, Cal, and Washington State.
And UCLA, at least for the time being, has pushed themselves out of that conversation with winning the opening game of that series in Westwood at Jackie Robinson Stadium last night from Oregon State. So in the standings, look, Stanford's 19-6, and again, a win today, they will be the 1 seed. They will be the Pac-12 champions. Tommy Troy doubled in the 3rd. He's 1 for 2. As the Cardinal, a 4.5 game lead on both Washington and Arizona State.
And pretty much guarantee them that they will be hosting one of the 16 regionals. The only question, speaking of the Cardinal, assuming they go on to win the Pac-12 championship, will they be a top 8 national seed, which means you will not only host the regional, but if you win your regional, you'll host your super as well. For me,
Troy, a drive to left, way back. Davis goes back and bangs the glove in frustration. Knew it. Home run, Tommy Troy. 11th for Troy, the 2nd for Stanford today, the Pac-12 leaders. The Stanford Cardinal have now hit 84 home runs, and that was a liner, a screamer off the bat of Troy, 4-1 Cardinal.
well, Tommy is one of the candidates in the running for Pac-12 Player of the Year, and right there you get a glimpse as to why. And you mentioned Chase Davis, a little frustrated in the left. He's so competitive, right, is Chase Davis. He's just a great young man, but it's almost like you know he wish he was like 12 foot tall, that he could jump up and catch that ball and keep it in the yard. That's how much he wants to win.
Carter Graham takes ball 1. 4-1 Cardinal. So as of right now, Stanford would be the 1. Washington would be the 2. And the Huskies are hot. They've won 4 in a row and 9 of their last 10. After winning out of Oregon last night, game 1 of that series at PK Park in Eugene. Arizona State would be the 3 seed. The 4 would be Oregon State. The 5 would be Oregon. USC would be the 6th seed, even though both teams are 14 and 11. Carter Graham skies this one out of play.
Well, there's so much, Roxy, that could change in the next 2 weekends.
UCLA would be the 7. The Bruins are 11 and 12 with a tie in league play. The 8 would be, as of right now, the 8 would be Washington State. The Cougs are 9 and 15, and Arizona would be the 9. As both Cal and Arizona are 9 and 16, but with the Wildcats sweeping California earlier this year in Tucson, that gives Arizona the tiebreaker and why they would be the 9. Cal on the outside looking in right now, and Utah 8 and 18 and 1. As Carter Graham skies this one into shallow right, backpedaling up, and the outfield grass making the play over there is Romero. There's 2 away. And that'll bring up Braden Montgomery. One more look at Tommy Troy's swing.
It's out in a hurry, wasn't it?
Should I get into launch angle and exit velocity, or are you good?
Here, let me ask you this. It went over the fence, right?
Yes, it did.
Okay, is that the only thing that's important?
Yeah.
Think about it. The bottom line, right?
Braden Montgomery hit one over the fence earlier, takes ball one. He's 1 for 2.
I mean, you get a speeding ticket if you're going 68, then 65, or you're going 98, right?
Yeah, but the difference is how much they're going to charge you. Okay. How much are they going to get you for?
But you're still speeding. Ball leaves the yard, it leaves the yard.
Yeah, but if you're going 68, they might not give you a ticket. But if you're going 98, they're for sure going to get you.
Maybe. If you're going 98, maybe they'll get you.
2-0 on Braden Montgomery. So those are the standings and the seedings for right now. One more game to play tomorrow as Montgomery pulls it. Nice play at third. Gobbled up by Bullard. Rifles it to first, and it gets past Romero. And Montgomery ends up at second base here with 2 outs. That ball was scalded, and it jumped up right to Bullard. But then Bullard skipped the throw past Kiko Romero at first base. And Alberto Rios, who singled in the fourth, 1 for 2 will be the hit. That'll be an error charged to Bullard on the throw.
We'll get a look at it. I mean, Bullard makes a great play to stop this rocket down to third baseline. It's his throw, which goes up the first baseline, which about, I'd say, 90% of throws from a third baseman are going to be on the second base side of first base. Kiko just couldn't pick it.
So an error charge to Bullard. Alberto Rios lines it to center right toward Bingham. Backs up a little bit, and he puts it away to retire the side. 2-run blast off the bat of Tommy Troy, and Stanford extends their lead. 4-1 Cardinal. We head to the 6th. Scoring change in the ball that was scalded off the bat of Braden Montgomery. They'll give an infield hit to Montgomery and an error allowing him to get to second base.
Well, as a hitter, you love that, don't you?
Your home ballpark.
You think that happens?
I think there is some hometown scoring at some places, yeah. You don't?
Of course there is. I mean, there's some horrendous hometown scorekeepers. Now, tomorrow's a day game. What is it, 1 o'clock?
Noon.
Noon, 12.
But if you want to show up at 1, I think everybody's good.
Oh, I thought the abuse was gone. I was starting to heal.
Never ends.
The medics left.
Tyler Casagrande takes ball 1.
I told him to go
9-1 and 2 for Arizona is Mac Bingham and Nick McClary to follow. Pop out for Casagrande, his first time up. And he skies this one that's pushing out of play, and it lands in the Arizona bullpen area. 1-1 in Casagrande. All right, so we went through the seedings as of now. But again, action today. Tomorrow these series wrap up. One more weekend of conference play next week. And then next Saturday, it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday weekend with the Pac-12 tournament starting a week from Tuesday. So last night in the conference, in case you missed the scores from last night, of course, Stanford in a tremendous ball game here, 9-8, outlasted Arizona, walked it off. Alberto Rios drifting with it, makes the play. The late Jerry Kindle would not be happy with that catch.
Well, not with me, you wouldn't be.
So 1 out as Tyler Casagrande flies out to Alberto Rios. Here comes Mac Bingham, who walked in the 4th. So the action last night in the league. So 9-8, Stanford held off Arizona to take game 1 of this series. And keep in mind, Stanford is playing great baseball right now. Bingham takes ball 1. Stanford's won 6 straight, 9 out of 10. But last night, UCLA erupted late, beat Oregon State down in LA. Washington stunned Oregon in game 1 in Eugene. By the way, the Huskies' RPI climbed 8 spots yesterday with that win. USC beat Arizona State last night. Washington State beat Cal. And Utah crushed Cal Poly in a non-conference game. And after the results last night, the Pac-12, again, we have 11 teams that play baseball in this conference. Colorado does not field a team. So 11 teams in the Pac-12. And that's why every weekend somebody has to play a non-conference series in the middle of league play while Utah's playing Cal Poly this week. But 10 of the 11 teams in the Pac-12 rank in the top 81 in the RPI. Mac Bingham turns on it, hooks it deep, but foul well out of play. That was a shot off the bat of Bingham.
Well, you think about the two series next week in Arizona, right? One in Tucson, which has the USC Trojans going there. And then UCLA finishes up in Tempe against Arizona State.
And Mac Bingham draws a walk for the second time in this one, a went-out base runner for Arizona.
But it's not just those two series, although they're huge. I mean, USC has struggled on the road, as everybody has struggled on the road in the Pac-12. It is not easy to win on the road.
So next weekend, the LAs go to the Arizonas. Stanford's at Washington State. Cal is at Washington. To wrap up the regular season, as Nick McClary is 0 for 2 in this one, takes ball 1. And then you also, next week, Utah will return to conference play after playing Cal Poly this weekend. Arizona, by the way, will have a Monday game at Arizona. Or Arizona will be at UC Irvine. Tuesday, Cal hosts Santa Clara. Utah's at Utah Valley. Portland visits Oregon State. USC is over at LMU. And then Thursday, the series begin. Western Carolina is at Oregon State in the non-conference series. Oregon goes to Salt Lake City next weekend to round out league play.
Well, if you follow, it just based on how the teams have played up to this point, it's not that Utah can't win a series there against somebody, an upper echelon team in the Pac, because they've taken care of SC. But you would think that Oregon takes care of business, they play right, they win that series. Again, I keep focusing on those Arizona series. I mean, it means so much. Now, assuming this is that USC wins this series, one of the next two games against Oregon.
No, against Arizona State.
Against Arizona State.
Yeah, Oregon's playing Washington.
They won Oregon. They won the series last weekend against Oregon, but they haven't won a series on the road in the Pac, and they need to. And it's going to be a tough road against this Arizona offense.
USC won a series at Cal.
Oh, that's
early.
Right. My bad.
It was early.
You're right. It was early, but they have struggled on the road, and they have to go to Tucson, and UCLA has to go to Tempe to play ASU.
And Arizona's been really good at home, as you can imagine. McClary, the batter, Bingham at first, and a fly ball to center, hit right toward Eddie Park. Roaming with it, puts it away, and back to first goes Bingham, and there's 2 down. That'll bring Chase Davis to the plate for the Cats, who singled in the 4th. He's 1 for 2. Arizona has only 3 hits in the ballgame.
But go ahead, Rob.
So today, only 2 other day games going on in the conference. Cal right now clobbering Washington State. Cal's up 14-4. They have 15 hits, and they trailed at 3-0 early, and they had a 7-run third. Cal in that game behind Paulshan Pascalato, one of the great names in college baseball.
Yeah, you're going to ask me to pronounce that?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Cal's hit 3 home runs. Rodney Green Jr., 3-run blast. Carson Crawford, the Cal shortstop, and then out of the 9 spot, Jack Johnston, who came into the game hitting 110, is 2 for 3 with a home run. Called strike to Davis. They're going to the 7th over at Stu Gordon Stadium. And then Utah is trailing Cal Poly 9-8 in the bottom of the 9th. They're in a weather delay at Smith's Ballpark in Salt Lake City. Inclement weather moving in as Dixon have moved to first.
By the way, speaking of that yard in Utah where they play, which is AAA team for the Angels,
Salt Lake Bees.
Is there a more picturesque view than to look at those mountains with the snow on from the booth? It's beautiful there.
It's not bad here.
Well, it is. But, okay, I should say with snow, all right?
You're not going to have snow.
It's beautiful there.
So they've inclement weather in the bottom of the ninth, 1 out. The tying run is on for Utah, with the game halted right now. Tied up Chase Davis. Kai Roberts singled with 1 out in the ninth. So 9-8 Cal Poly after the Utes crushed the Mustangs in game 1 of that series last night. So coming up later today, Oregon State, 6 o'clock start at UCLA right here on Pac-12 Network. And Chase Davis goes down swinging. Dixon gets the strikeout, his second strikeout. And Joey Dixon is rolling along for the Cardinal. We go to the bottom of the sixth, 4-1 Stanford. Stanford 4, Arizona 1. On to the home half of the 6th inning on the farm. A couple of 2-run homers in support of Joey Dixon for the Cardinal. Braden Montgomery is 13th of the year in the first. And then in the 5th, Tommy Troy launching one over the wall and left, so a 4-1 lead. Troy's 11th of the year. New pitcher for Arizona, junior righty TJ Nichols. It's not too far away from here. It's his hometown, Roseville up near Sacramento. After 5 solid innings, Braden Zastro did a decent job. Even though he gave up a couple of 2-run homers, he was effective for Arizona today.
Well, if you're Chip Hale and you said, hey, my starter's going to go to Stanford against this offense that Stanford has, and he's going to go through 5 innings and give up, and when I say only give up 4 runs, that's what I mean. You say, job well done. So he gave his chance. In other words, you'll take look at TJ Nichols' numbers, and if you haven't seen TJ Nichols, he's about 6'6", and he can rush it up there about 97, 98 at times. As a freshman, you thought that he was going to be one of those special
dude for Arizona,
special kids across the country, and he just hasn't blossomed into that guy yet. And I say yet, he's still young. He will pitch at the next level because of his talent. The baseball comes out of his hand different and better than most.
Held back by Malcolm Moore, followed by Drew Bowser and Jake Sapien. 6, 7, and 8 for Arizona. That fastball was 96, by the way, from Nichols. A Roseville, California native. Was preseason all-league this year.
Well, early, I mean, he threw great against, I believe, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Early in the year.
Opening day of the season, they beat Tennessee.
Where they beat Tennessee, and at the time, Tennessee was ranked 2 in the country. It was early in the year. Obviously, it's in February, but that said, I mean, everybody thought that, okay, this is the year that he puts it all together.
Malcolm Moore fouls it away. As a freshman, made 9 starts, was 6-3 with a 4.77 ERA. But pitched well in the postseason. 3 relief appearances in the 21 postseason at a 1.86 ERA, went 2-0.
Well, he did, and you remember Nate Yeske at the time was the pitching coach, right, for Jay Johnson's Arizona Wildcats, and Yeske was not afraid to bring him, and nor was Jay Johnson, to bring in TJ into some very tense situations in the postseason games and late in the games, as you see ball 4 right there, but he just hasn't blossomed yet, and I say yet, and that's what every scout. When you're sitting in the stands, Rox, and you see a 6'6", 7 guy just rushing it up there at 96, 97 for fun, you're going to give him an opportunity to play at the next level, aren't you?
You would think. So Nichols puts more on. Drew Bowser double and a single, 2 for 2. And Bowser rips it to left, and that drops in front of Davis, who has to play it on a bounce. So after Malcolm Moore was hit by a pitch, Bowser now 3 for 3. So Drew Bowser, again, we talked about it, his struggles that he had, the inconsistency was up and down early in the year. He's finding his swing right now.
Well, he is, but it's pretty much everybody in the Cardinal lineup is starting to swing the bat tremendously. It's a fastball up, doesn't miss it. This is an interesting situation for David Esker. Does he elect to bunt here and try to get some more runs? And keep in mind, last night when Sapien came up in a bunting situation, he pinch hit David Esker for Sapien because he wanted a bunt down. But we've seen that 3-run lead against Arizona. This offense was not a big lead.
Jake Sapien takes outside, 1-1. He's 0 for 2. One ball, one strike. Moore at second, Bowser at first. And the pitch upstairs to Sapien. But you mentioned that they weren't afraid, even as a freshman, to use Nichols in a clutch spot.
Yeah, no, they put TJ in every tough spot that it was possible in that series. And again, it was one batter or two, right?
He came up huge in that winner-take-all Game 3 against Ole Miss in the Supers, as TJ Nichols worked out of the bullpen in that game. And Nichols stabilized it for Arizona. He went 5 1/3, giving up 1 run on 3 hits, struck out 7. And he was dominant in long relief, and he was able to stabilize the game and allow Arizona's offense to get going. And they won that game against Ole Miss at High Corbett Field, and temperatures were in the triple digits. It was blistering hot, around 110.
It was a tremendous regional and a tremendous super.
And Nichols, a big reason why Arizona got to Omaha in 21 in the College World Series. 3-2. And back up the middle off the mound, fielded by White. Steps on second, throws to first, and he doubles up Sapien. And Malcolm Moore goes to third. It skipped up off the mound perfectly for the Wildcats.
That's just beautiful. It's great baseball. I mean, defensively, it's interesting how that ball can just hop, right? That perfect hop for White at second. Steps on the bag, and it's an easy 4 and assisted to 3. Double play. It's just beautiful.
2 outs, Moore at third. Owen Cobb is 0 for 2. TJ Nichols, the flame-throwing right-hander.
Think of that regional, though.
Slider.
You remember the regional Arizona had? Who was in there? Grand Canyon.
Oklahoma State.
Grand Canyon won their the WAC. Santa Barbara.
And Oklahoma State went 2 and out.
It's just it wasn't easy.
And Arizona had to come back to beat Grand Canyon that first game.
Well, they did, but you see Santa Barbara, Andrew Checkett's club pushed. I mean, they're not an easy out ever.
2-0 on Cobb. Eddie Park, the top of the order on deck. TJ Nichols. The pitch. Pounds the zone at 97.
Which is so free and easy, right? And if you're in Arizona's dugout, right, you're Chip Hale, Dave Lawn, pitch coach, right? You're like, you know, kid, do you know how good you can be?
Just throw the dang ball. just let it rip. Just let it eat. Two one, way outside.
But that right there, it's part of the problem, right? It's his command, and it's also, it's not just throwing balls, but it's when he throws a strike, where is it in the strike zone? Because it doesn't matter how hard you're throwing. If you're throwing a fastball at 97, but it's up in the zone, it's easy to hit. It really is, to get the bat head there.
Darts the outside corner at 98. That's why you see TJ Nichols, why the scouts want to see him. That pitch right there in a nutshell.
Yeah, well, I mean, who's this kid, by the way? Well, he throws 98.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, can he repeat it? Fastball bounced over the mound. Tough play. McClary ranging behind second base. Infield hit for Owen Cobb. Malcolm Moore scores 5-1 Stanford.
Yeah, I know it's a hit, but the athleticism up the middle between McClary and White. White has to, they have to communicate on this play, Roxy, and McClary ends up getting the ball, but watch as they come together. White, his instincts, he goes behind McClary, and then you see the throw over there, and Kiko just knocks it down at first, but that's that prior to the pitch being thrown, it's that communication. As you see a wild pitch that goes up the line. I mean, it's a wild pitch, bad throw, excuse me, from TJ.
So an errant pickoff throw, and that moves Cobb to second for Eddie Park here with 2 outs.
But that's just the instincts and communication. You know if a ball's going up the middle, that McClary's going to be inside, and the second baseman's going to be on the outside.
So after Owen Cobb just pounded that one into the ground, was able to leg out an infield hit, and Nichols misses high with 96. 5 innings for Braden Sastro, and now Nichols out there for Arizona. Bouncer foul up the first base side.
Well, for a long time this year, TJ was the Friday night starter.
Yeah. And with the struggles that Arizona had, that 10-game conference losing streak which they had, they were searching for answers and trying to juggle it with the pitching this year. And David Long doing his best to mix and match. And now at the end of the year, look, even though Nichols has that legit Friday night stuff, he hasn't been consistent. And that's why he's in this role right now, hoping to recapture it.
Well, there you see a fastball, right? It's a 1-1 fastball from Nichols, and Eddie Park, who we know has got real good hands, can't come close to getting the bat head out of that.
1-2 on Park. Nichols, spin, taken off. They have the runner hung up, chasing Owen Cobb back. Now Nick McClary to Tony Bullard, and they have him caught at third base to retire the side. Stanford gets a run, though, here in the 6th. We're headed to the 7th on the farm. Stanford up 5-1. Five to 1 Stanford as we head to the 7th, and Joey Dixon's been rolling along for Stanford today. He's given up a run on 3 hits. The only run for Arizona, Mason White homer in the 5th. And Dixon, who's been bumped up to the Saturday spot, normally had been on Sundays. Kiko Romero, Emilio Corona, Mason White, middle third of the order for Chip Hale here in the 7th. Again, a win by Stanford today, and the Cardinal are Pac-12 champions. They will be the 1 seed at the Pac-12 tournament coming up in about a week and a half. Kiko Romero's 0 for 2. He'll lead it off here against Dixon. Dixon, who normally has had control problems this season, but he's been effective today and efficient. 74 pitches starting the 7th.
Oh, until now, right? That ball hit him. Looked like
inside.
Did it go between his legs?
Overshift on for Romero, the left-handed batter. 3 Cardinal on the right side of the diamond. Missed with the curve there. It's 2-0 on Romero.
Just about, what, 12.3 pitches per inning?
Good math, West.
Well, math was my favorite subject.
There's a drive hooked. That was crushed off the bat of Romero. And talking to David Esker and his pitching coach Thomas Seager the last couple of days, just how they're approaching not just this weekend, but then next weekend at Washington State. Again, it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Romero flails at that heading into the Pac-12 tournament. And if Stanford is the 1 seed, they will have a bye on Tuesday. And their first game will be in Scottsdale Wednesday night in the 7 p.m. game. Reaching for it, into right, hit right toward Braden Montgomery. He was tucked back there in the shade over toward right center, 1 gone.
Well, here's the thing about the Cardinal. If the season ended today and this score holds, they would be a top 8 national seed if it ended today. And so what goes through David Esker's mind, although they finish up on the road at Washington State next weekend, assuming all goes well there, they'd probably be projected as a top 8 national seed. The problem, as you see, swing and a miss on pitch 1
Emilio
from Dixon,
Corona.
but you start to worry. Okay, you don't want to lose that top 8 national seed, right? Because you don't want to lose game 1 in the tournament. or game 2, and you just wonder, and that's that battle skippers have. Am I in as a national seed? Do I have to worry about doing well in the tournament, or do I not?
1-1 to Corona. Joey Dixon misses upstairs. The more than likely, and David Esker, look, they're still trying to figure out who's going to start the finale of this series tomorrow. Tap foul by Corona. More than likely, Stanford also will try to figure out who's going to pitch Thursday. They're going to try to keep Quinn Matthews and now Joey Dixon on turn. So Matthews will go more than likely in Pullman next Friday in game 2 of that series against Washington State. And then Dixon will pitch the regular season finale next Saturday. That ball lined over toward the left field line, and a hit on the edge of the warning track, cut off by Alberto Rios. A wide turn, and Corona stays at first. And a one-out base runner for the Wildcats, and Corona is on for Mason White, who launched one his last time.
Well, there's no lead that's really safe against this Arizona Wildcat offense, and David Esker knows that better than anybody.
So Mason White destroyed one in the 5th inning for his 5th home run of the year. Final in Salt Lake City, 9-8 Cal Poly, as the weather cleared up to allow them to finish it. And Cal Poly even that series after Utah won the opener last night. As Stanford pitching coach Thomas Eager heading out to the mound, and the Cardinal will go to the bullpen. The right-hander Brant Panzer has been tuning up. Not yet. The signal has not been made by Eager. There's 84 pitches for Dixon.
I'm going to guess that he's going to go to the pen right now. And he did.
There he goes.
And he made you look like a genius.
Well, Thomas Eager and I think a lot of
well,
And look, Joey Dixon can leave this game feeling great. He pitched tremendous for Stanford today against one of the best lineups in the country.
Well, number one
up
offense.
Just 1 run on 4 hits.
Well, Arizona leads the conference in runs scored, and he did a tremendous job all the way into the 7th.
6 1/3 for Joey Dixon in this one, as the Cardinal will go to the bullpen. A season high in innings pitched for the Stanford righty as Brant Panzer takes over. Beautiful Saturday afternoon on the farm, enjoying this spectacular weather in the low 80s here at Sunken Diamond on this Saturday. Game 2 of this series as Stanford goes to the bullpen and Brant Panzer takes over for the Cardinal after 6 1/3 brilliant innings. Joey Dixon's longest outing of the year.
Well, Joey Dixon did a tremendous job for David Esker and Thomas Eager, the pitching coach. I mean, just to limit the Wildcats to 1 run and all the way into the 7th, and then hands the ball off to Brant Panzer, who's been really, really good recently. See, just 11 walks in 33 innings and 33 punch-outs, and he can rush it up there sometimes at 94, 95. Can Panzer.
Dixon giving up 4 hits so far, 1 run. He's responsible for Corona, the runner at first base. Walked 2, struck out 2, and that's really what David Esker wanted to see from Dixon. Some consistency from the right-hander, and he did his job today against this aggressive Arizona attack.
Well, anytime you get 6 innings out of your starter in college and at a D1 level, I mean, job well done. Last night, Quinn Matthews got into the 6th, and then today, Dixon gets into the 7th. See Mason White stepping in. Boy, if you could predict the future for this freshman, it's a good one, isn't it?
Well, he showed off his power earlier, that's for sure. That ball was annihilated that he hit. Going over to the bottom of the 7th now at Cal. The Bears 14-9. Washington State got 5 in the 7th inning. Try to make it interesting against California. Pivotal game for both teams and for Arizona as well, considering those teams jockeying for position and trying to get into the Pac-12 tournament. 1-1 on White. Panzer, a valuable member of the bullpen for the Cardinal, misses way inside.
Well, the first 2 pitches from Panzer who, as I mentioned, has a tremendous fastball, 94-95, or sliders down and in to White. And I think that last pitch is just a show me fastball to come back with something off speed here. And it was. That's that slider down and in. And what do we talk about all the time, right? If a hitter is not hitting one single pitch, why not keep throwing it, right? Sometimes you can try to outsmart yourself as a pitch caller, as a catcher, or whoever you are. Just throw the same thing.
Bounces that one, and it's a full count on Mason White.
And he did, and I will tell you, Thomas Eager's not afraid to call 3-2 breaking pitches for the Stanford Cardinal pitch. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. So I wouldn't be surprised that he just throws that slider again down and in.
Full count on White. The pitch. Pull that one, and there's the breaking ball again.
Right, well, we know, here's the thing, is that we know that White, the way he's swinging at these pitches, they're all down and in, down and in, down and in. We know that he's ready for a fastball. I mean, he's telling you, because he's pulling off all of these sliders. So if we throw a fastball right now, it might hit that barrel very, very good at the right spot, and all of a sudden it's 5-3.
Swing and a fly to center with Corona running on the pitch. And Eddie Park backing up. Makes the grab. And Corona retreats, and there's 2 away. 2 gone, that'll leave it up to Tony Bullard, who's 0 for 2 with a fly out and a ground out. So 2 away, a runner at first. 6 1/3 from Dixon, and now Pantzer. So Brant Pantzer, the native of Sewanee, Georgia. Bullard puts this one out of play for strike 1.
Now I would guess that David Esker's thinking he's got that ace, right, in his hand, and Ryan Bruno, right? The back end of this bullpen. I mean, you have a 4-run lead, 2 outs in the 7th inning. And if you win this game, you win the pack. My guess is that Bruno's going to throw in this game at some point in time. We're at Bullard now, and then you have
Lalaberte.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then you have a left-handed Casa Grande after that. But we're just in the 7th.
1-1 on Bullard. He taps that one foul. It's a ball and 2 strikes in the Arizona third baseman.
And by the way, math was my favorite subject. English was not.
English seems like it's your enemy.
Would you believe I was on radio?
Clearly a sign they'll put anybody on radio these days.
Well, everybody said that was my best spot to be, because TV, you don't want to see me, right? So they said radio is the best spot. We can hide your face.
In the dirt, taking off late, going down to second and diving in safe. Emilio Corona getting a big extra 90 feet there in that pitch in the dirt. A wild pitch advances.
It's a great job of base running. We'll take a look at Corona right now. You're 4 runs down. Everybody would say, hey, don't take any risk. Well, I guess, listen, the ball's in the dirt. He read it good, and he gets down in scoring position, and a base hit now could cut the deficit to just 3 runs.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. A runner at second for Arizona. Brant Pantzer the pitch, and Bullard pops it out of play. Do it one more time. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And the positive, last night, Stanford only had to use 2 pitchers. Drew Dowd worked the final 3 after Quinn Matthews started, went 6 last night.
Mm-hmm.
So the bullpen, other than Dowd coming into today, was fresh. Pantzer, Ryan Bruno, Matt Scott is probably going to work out of the bullpen at some point. Nick Dugan pulled into the Arizona bullpen foul.
Well, I think because of how significant this game is and how important it is to the Cardinal, even though it's a 4-run lead, I think that David Esker is going to bring in Ryan Bruno at some point in time in this game.
Well, he is up in the bullpen right now.
You need 7 more outs to win this game.
Stanford, the defending Pac-12 champs, trying to bring another championship to the farm. Going back on it, Braden Montgomery and right, puts it away, side retired. Time to stand and stretch at Sunken Diamond. 5-1 Stanford. Top of the order coming up in the home 7. Stretch time on the farm on this sparkling Saturday afternoon. 5-1 Stanford, a chance to win another Pac-12 title with a victory here today over the Arizona Wildcats. Top of the order to face TJ Nichols here in the last of the 7th. Eddie Park, Tommy Troy, Carter Graham. West, 84 degrees right now here at Sunken Diamond.
It is warm, and thankfully for us, the sun has moved on to the left part of the booth here. Although it's tremendous suntan weather, isn't it?
It is warm. Eddie Park walked and scored. He was aboard on the Tommy Troy homer in the 5th, and he fouls that one back. 94 that time, so Nichols took something off.
You know, we talk about TJ Nichols, right? What comes out of his arm doesn't match his numbers, right? Well, scouts, this is what they want to see. Right now, you have the top of the Cardinal lineup in Park, Troy, Graham, Montgomery, and Rios, right? They want to see somebody like TJ Nichols face elite hitters, because they know they could see something magical because of what comes out of his hand.
And Park just serves one the other way. Down the line, around first, Eddie Park to second. And that's an "are you kidding me" moment for TJ Nichols. A 96-mile-per-hour fastball. And Eddie Park just threw his bat at it, made contact, and served it right past third base for a double.
Sometimes the game is not fair. And what I mean by that is that, to your point, this pitch is 96 down and away, and if it wasn't for the talent and hand-eye coordination of Eddie Park, there is no contact here. But that's how good Eddie Park is, and it just hasn't gone well. Look at that. I mean, that's all that is just trying to put the ball in play.
Tommy Troy takes a strike, homered in the 5th. He's 2 for 3, also a double for Troy today.
But you can't fault TJ Nichols' location right there.
No.
It's perfect location.
Spiked that fastball. 1-1 on Troy. And as a pitcher, what can you do? I mean, you're frustrated. You did what you wanted to do, and the guy just threw the bat at it and put it past third base.
The only thing you really can do is try to slow down. Slow everything down, right? Sometimes the game gets going real fast, and then you start thinking, geez, not again, right? Some bad luck. You have to slow down, not speed up. And characteristics of when you get in that bad spot, it's always to speed up. Speed up. Just slow down. Take a deep breath. Start again. And now you're ahead in the count 1-2.
Fouled away by Troy.
So now you just take your time, breathe, forget what just happened, concentrate on what has to happen next.
One and two on Tommy Troy. Eddie Park at second. And Troy in the air to center. Roaming back is Mac Bingham. Still going back. Bingham onto the track, makes the catch. Eddie Park tags, breaks for third on the deep flyout off the bat of Troy.
Now, if you wanted to be critical right there, I mean, TJ Nichols got the out, right? He's ahead 1-2. So he throws a slider to Tommy Troy. Well, the slider right there, it looked to be what you could argue is a get-me-over slider. It's just right down the middle. So again, we talked about pitch location in the strike zone for TJ Nichols, and you just saw it right there.
One out, infield in for Arizona. Chopper to third, foul. Carter Graham is 1 for 3 with a run. Looking to get another add-on run. Stanford up 5-1.
Well, it's the third consecutive hitter that TJ Nichols has got ahead of, right? One of them is standing at third base, who got a double, and Eddie Park. And then Tommy Troy moved them over with the fly ball to center field and forced, as you mentioned, the Cats to play infield in.
There's the ball drilled to left. Forget it. That ball is destroyed by Carter Graham. Clears the trees. 12th for Graham. Stanford's third homer today, and the Cardinal have extended that lead to 7-1.
That's his 12th home run of the season.
It's just a fastball up in the zone, and if there's somebody, that could have been a hard slider, the more I think about it, but if there's somebody that likes the ball up in the zone, this Stanford lineup, it is. It's just a slider that doesn't do anything. When I say it doesn't do anything, it looked like a fastball. That's how much it didn't do anything.
Last year's Pac-12 home run champ with his 12th of the year. 7-1 Cardinal. They've hit 3 two-run homers today. Braden Montgomery, who hit one in the first, fouls that off. An absolute no-doubter from Carter Graham. We talked about the ball would be jumping out of here today.
Well, I kind of think that some of these home runs would have been gone even if the wind was blowing in. That's how hard they've been hit. But you are right. Good slider there from TJ.
Oh, now you're talking about exit velocity. I see.
No, I didn't say anything about exit velocity. The ball went over the fence. That's all. That's all that matters if you're a Cardinal fan.
And Montgomery skips out of the way, and the count is full on the Stanford right fielder. Last year's Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. Overshift on for Arizona defensively. Montgomery, a high chop, charging it. That's McClary, the shortstop, and he throws out Montgomery. Two down. Alberto Rios is single the fourth, 1 for 3. Stanford inching closer to the Pac-12 title. And the #1 seed in the Pac-12 tournament. With 4 games to go. Strike one on Rios. The Cardinal, who won both the regular season and Pac-12 championships last year. Stanford has been to Omaha each of the last 2 years. 5 straight seasons they've hosted a regional here.
Well, you can make it 6 with this year.
And that one hit Alberto Rios. His 94 from Nichols ran in, and Rios looked like it caught him on the inside of the wrist.
Looked like the wrist, and this is not a good place to get hit. That is not a good place to get hit.
And it was the backhand that looked like the right hand. Rios will head down to first. Yep. So it's the back
Forearm.
backhand on the inside of the forearm there.
Well, there's a lot of meat there. That's a good thing. I mean, on the wrist, I've had that, and it's you can almost guarantee it's going to be broke if it gets you on the wrist.
On the front side.
It's just.
Luckily for him, it came on the inside. And looks like going to stay in the game as David Esker walking back to the first base dugout. One more look where it got him. No, got him on the front arm, actually. The left one, not the right. So Stanford winning the conference tournament last year and the regular season championship. Their first Pac-12 title since 2018. And trying to make it back-to-back. Malcolm Moore fouls it straight back. David Esker. Stanford won it last year. It was Esker's second Pac-12 championship with the Cardinal. They won it in his first season back in 2018. A drive to right, crushed by Malcolm Moore. Stanford's fourth two-run homer. Number 10 for Moore.
This is just a freshman, folks. Malcolm Moore was the most sought-after catching recruit in the country last year, and the Cardinal are real happy they have him. But 10 home runs as a freshman, you're going to catch a majority of the games, and everybody in this Cardinal lineup is heating up at the right time.
Stanford hit 6 homers at Santa Clara on Tuesday. They've hit 4 in this one.
Well, you know what this has shown us with TJ Nichols, right? And there's a big emphasis across the country, as you know, on velocity, right? It's throw harder. Let's see how hard we can throw with the youngsters, right? Let's see how hard we can throw with the minor league guys. We're finding out right now it's not velocity, right? Because we're seeing when you have velocity, it doesn't matter. You can still get hit if you don't throw the baseball in the right spot. I mean, we're seeing 95, 96, 97 from TJ Nichols consistently.
Just like real estate. Location, location, location.
Very good, Ross. That's the first time. That's the first time I've ever heard that, right?
Clearly. 3-0.
But and again, TJ Nichols is going to play at the next level. He's going to get an opportunity because of what comes out of his arm. And if he harnesses his command and he works on his breaking pitches, you're going to see this kid playing baseball for a long time at the next level. In the meantime, if you do not locate the baseball when you throw it, it can get hit and get hit hard.
Drew Bowser walks. Here comes Chip Hale out of the Arizona dugout. One more look at the Malcolm Moore blast.
Slider down and in, and it doesn't, again, it's very similar, right, to the home run to left that we saw that I thought was a fastball. It's just a breaking pitch, doesn't break. And they're going to make a move.
Arizona will go to the bullpen as Stanford has opened up a 9-1 lead. TJ Nichols goes an inning and 2/3, and a pitching change for the Cats. Arizona, Stanford on the farm.
For a reason.
9-1 Stanford as the Cardinal have opened up an 8-run lead with a 4-run 7th, and inching closer to a Pac-12 title here today is George Arias Jr. 9th appearance for the son of one of the best Arizona hitters we've seen.
Boy, George, his daddy, boy, could he hit.
One of the best college hitters, not just Arizona hitters, one of the best college hitters I ever saw.
And a great man. I mean, but you see his son, just 6 innings, 4 walks, 4 punch outs.
Inning and 2/3, TJ Nichols giving up 5 hits and a couple of home runs. And Stanford took a 2-0 lead on a 2-run blast by Braden Montgomery in the first, and it stayed a 2-0 game until Arizona got on the board in the 5th. Solo homer from Mason White for the Wildcats. And then Stanford came right back in the bottom of the 5th. Tommy Troy left the yard, a 2-run shot. And Stanford had a 4-1 lead through 5. RBI single by Owen Cobb in the 6th to make it 5-1, and 2 more 2-run homers by Stanford here in the 7th. Carter Graham's 12th, Malcolm Moore's 10th, and now Jake Sapien digs in with Drew Bowser at first base. And Arias just missing with ball 1. So the righty Arias, the senior from Tucson. There's a high chop to short, backhanded McClary, deep from the hole. Got him at first. Counselor, Exhibit A on why he should be Player of the Year defensively in the league.
He's a good one. He is a good one. A Cardinal up 9-1 as we head to the 8th.
Stanford 6 outs away from winning back-to-back Pac-12 titles. And a win today also closes out at least a series with one game to play tomorrow. Stanford would win this series with one more to play against Arizona. And these are pivotal games. The Wildcats, again, will be at home next week. And Arizona needing some wins to try to get into the Pac-12 tournament. Cameron Laliberte leads off the 8th for Zona. And he takes a strike, and USC visits High Corbett Field next weekend. Cal is now leading Washington State 16-9 in the 8th.
It's a football score. I mean, literally. It's football. 3 field goals.
Well, Justin Wilcox's defense coming up strong today, I guess. 16 runs on 18 hits for Cal. That one just foul off the bat of Laliberte. And we'll do it 0-2 on
I know it's
Arizona catcher.
I know it's a foul ball, but the scouts don't care that it's a foul ball. What they care is that Tommy Troy got to that ball, released it, and got the ball to first base accurately. And he did it, what was he, 10 yards in foul ground? I should say out of bounds, right? Because we was talking about football.
0-2 on Laliberte, followed by Casagrande in the top of the order, Bingham.
Watch this. This just does a little a la Derek Jeter.
Little pirouette there.
You remember Derek Jeter?
Who?
You remember? Don't act like you're so young and I'm so old, okay?
Oh, he played for the Yankees, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Crushed way out of here. Cameron Laliberte destroyed that one. My goodness. I'm not sure if that ball's going to land anytime soon.
Well, I guarantee you one thing. It never hit my car where I was trying to park initially when I tried to get to the yard because I was dead lost. That ball was absolutely annihilated. And as you mentioned, Rox, the ball is flying out here today.
That was a missile off the bat of Laliberte. His first of the season, believe it or not. He didn't get cheated on the distance on that one as Tyler Casagrande, a high fly ball to right. This one will die on the warning track, though, as Braden Montgomery puts it away. 1 out. Although there's a decent chance that the Laliberte homer landed in the parking lot over at Chef Juice.
And where?
Chef Juice on the corner of El Camino and San Antonio Road, about 3 miles away. Cameron Laliberte. Look, I don't even know if it landed. Cleared the trees, that's for sure.
Well, speaking of things on the campus or nearby,
Here's Mac Bingham.
what's the place you took me to eat? Jimmy V's?
Yeah,
What a beautiful food.
Jimmy V's Sports
just
Cafe.
Unbelievable food.
Right here at the Arriaga Center over near Maples Pavilion.
And again, first time, folks, you wouldn't be surprised. I drove past it 4 times. 4 times the very first time.
Pinch hitter for Arizona. This is Brendan Summerhill batting for Mac Bingham. And Summerhill, freshman from Chicago. 298, 47 at bats. He's got a couple of home runs. Highly touted prospect out of the Midwest. 1-1 pitch, and Summerhill takes a strike from Brant Panzer. And Laliberte destroyed that one for his first career home run. And it was not a cheapie. 1-2 on Summerhill. Panzer, the pitch. Brendan Summerhill. Dad played at Ohio State. Brother Colin played at both Troy and Northern Illinois. Taps it foul. And He was ranked among the top 5 outfield prospects coming out of the state of Illinois last year out of Whitney Young High School in Chicago.
Whitney Young.
Known more for basketball than it is baseball. But
Don't tell me you
Summerhill.
know about Whitney
Oh,
Young.
I do, totally. High fly ball to center. Going back, Eddie Park still going back to the track. He leaps and he caught it. What a play, Eddie Park. Robs Brendan Summerhill.
Well, some of the scouts asked me last night, not that they value my opinion, it's more on a discussion. They just had to talk to me because I was there, about Eddie Park. Can he catch everything? And this will give you a pretty good example. Can he? That's a ball that's out of the yard.
He robs Summerhill of a home run. Garen Caulfield pinch hitting for Nick McClary here with 2 outs in the 8th. Caulfield was the DH last night for Arizona. And Caulfield 1 for 4 last night with an RBI and a run. All-tournament team at the Pac-12 tournament last year for Garen Caulfield. But what a play by Eddie Park. Bringing a home run back off the bat of Brendan Summerhill. A motion from Panther in the 0-2. That's upstairs for a ball. Highlight reel play. We've seen some stellar defense. I know there's been a few errors in the series, but the catch that Chase Davis made last night, that one by Eddie Park, and a half swing and just getting a piece as Caulfield fights it off. Ball and 2 strikes on Garen Caulfield, the Sacramento product. And he takes that one in the dirt from Brant Panther.
We got a right-hander in the pen right now for the Cardinal. Based on the current score.
Ground ball. Shaded toward the hole. Owen Cobb throws out Caulfield. The Wildcats are gone. They get the homer from Cameron Laliberte, his first career homer. 9-2 Stanford to the bottom of the 8th. Eddie Park. Gotcha. 9-2 Stanford to the bottom of the 8th. And changes a plethora, a myriad of changes.
Can I say
Arizona.
that word, plethora?
Sure.
See how easy it was?
Numerous changes. George Arias Jr. stays on the mound. Cameron Laliberte, who hit his first career homer in the top of the inning, stays behind the plate. Kiko Romero is at first. Mason White moves from second to short. And the new second baseman is Garen Caulfield for Arizona. Owen Cobb leads off the home half of the 8th. So Arias, Cobb an RBI single in the 6th, strike 1. And now Stanford needing 3 outs to win back-to-back conference championships.
Well, back to what I was talking about, the Stanford bullpen. They had a right-hander warming up in the bullpen. But earlier, prior to Stanford scoring 4 in the bottom of the 7th, Ryan Bruno was up throwing for them. And, of course, Ryan Bruno threw 3 days out of last week. He threw 3 days. So what a luxury if he doesn't have to use Bruno today.
New third baseman, by the way, there is activity, a righty tuning up for Stanford. Maddox Michalakis at third to round out the Arizona infield. The other way, Owen Cobb, and that sinks in front of the new. That's Tyler Casagrande still out there in right. He retrieves it, and Cobb, a 2-hit game, is aboard hit number 14 for Stanford. And Eddie Park, who made that brilliant catch, robbing Brennan Summerhill of a homer, now the batter for Stanford. Summerhill, by the way, is in center field.
But almost happened like it normally happens. A great play is made, right? And they always somehow lead off the next inning.
This guy's batting second.
I understand.
I know, just pointing it out. There's a strike.
That's why I said almost. Did you pay attention? Almost.
And the new left fielder is Colton Moore for Arizona. On the ground, nice job on a backhand. Caulfield to White onto first, and a double play. Nicely turned by Arizona, and a terrific play on the backhand to get it started by Garen Caulfield.
That's just beautiful. We talked about this, the defense, and you talked about how good Nick McClary has been for the Cats, but they're chasing 7 runs here in the bottom of the 8th. Doesn't matter what the score is. You got to make the plays, and this is beautiful. Caulfield over to White for that 4-6-3. It's just beautiful stuff.
2 outs. Tommy Troy, a fly ball. This will stay in the ballpark. And the left fielder, Colton Moore, puts it away. Side retired. We're going to the 9th. Stanford 3 outs away from their 2nd straight Pac-12 title. Of champions, Stanford 3 outs away from adding another baseball championship. The trophy case, and Matt Scott, the freshman right-hander, on to get the final 3 outs and cement Stanford their 3rd Pac-12 title under David Eskin.
Well, if you look at Matt Scott, we talked about him. He was tremendous the entire year up until about 3 weeks ago. He was the guy in the 2-hole. The guy that was on the mound on Saturday night. Of course, Quinn Matthews was the #1 the entire year, but where this youngster has gotten into trouble with is his command. He's started to walk many hitters, and he's gotten trouble. His ERA is still in the 4s. That tells you how good he was the entire year. But if the Cardinal, in my opinion, are going to go deep into the postseason, they're going to need this freshman to get back to where he was in February and March and April.
He's got the ability. We've seen it. And he's been dominant at times on the mound. And hoping to regain that form heading toward the postseason. And Scott will face the 3, 4, 5 hitters. Colton Moore, actually, he will not be the leadoff batter. And part of the changes that Arizona made. This will be Maddox Michalakis to lead off the 9th for Chip Hale. And he took over to play 3rd base in the last of the 8th for Tony Bullard. So Maddox Michalakis, the freshman from Hopkins, Minnesota. 1 for 11. His 1 is a home run. Matt Scott missing down low. Pinch hitter is moved out on deck. Casey Hintz for the Wildcats. So Michalakis fouls it away, 1-1.
You see, it's a 93-mile-an-hour fastball from Matt Scott out there, so it's not velocity that's been his issue in running into recent problems.
1-1. Line into center, and Maddox Michalakis with a single to start the 9th.
What's new? Another Arizona hitter off the bench can hit, right? They all can hit.
Pinch hitting for Kiko Romero. This will be Casey Hintz. We saw him pitch here last night. He faced 1 batter, gave up a hit. Hintz is 0 for 2 so far this year, the freshman from Lakewood, Illinois. Michalakis at first, Matt Scott, the pitch.
But when you think about Matt Scott, you think, okay, well, he's, you know, and we've referred to it as the freshman wall, and some would think, well, the freshman wall means that they're just tired, right? They're tired. I don't think it necessarily means that they're tired. They just lost their command. They've lost their spot where they were mentally, because you can rest assured that this youngster wouldn't be on the mound if he had any arm trouble, if he wasn't feeling correct. He's feeling fine. He's just mentally not in a good spot when he pitches right now. And they're just hoping he regains it. It's a good slider down right there, down and away, but his fastball's still getting up there at 93, 94. You see the great slider right there, and early in the year, February and March, he's putting hitters away right now. This is a 4-pitch at bat. He's going to throw a slider down and away, and it's going to be a punch-out. That's what he was doing earlier this year.
1-2 to Casey Hintz. Hit in the air toward left center. Drifting over is Alberto Rios. And he makes the catch. One gone in the ninth. Michalakis back to first. And Emilio Corona coming up for Arizona. It's gone final over at Stu Gordon Stadium in Berkeley, and Cal has even that series with Washington State. 16-10. Cal defeated the Cougars, so they split the first two of that series, and with that win, Cal moves in front of both Washington State and Arizona in the Pac-12 standings. Fouled away by Corona.
But we talked about location with TJ Nichols and his outing today and how he got hurt with bad location. Matt Scott, we just talked about it. Got ahead 1-2. Previous pitch was a great slider. 1-2, he threw a slider, and it was right down the middle. And then his slider here on the first pitch was right down the middle, hung, and that's where he has been getting in trouble. Just bad location in the strike zone.
93 that time from Scott, and it's 0-2. So any questions? Maybe Matt Scott might start tomorrow. Stanford really didn't want to. They wanted to work him out of the bullpen this weekend to try to get him right. And so Thomas Eager's saying, look, this is the role for him this weekend. I don't know what it means for Washington State next weekend or the Pac-12 tournament, the postseason. So working out of the bullpen tells you he's definitely not starting tomorrow.
And again, he's not hurt. He's fine. His arm's fine. He's just in a bad spot mentally on the mound. That's all it is. It's just he hasn't located very well. It's just gone away, and sometimes that happens.
1-2 pitch, got him with the slider.
And
he struck him out.
That's a great slider there, and that's a slider that we saw in February, March, and April. We see it occasionally now, but it's not consistent. But all they're trying to do, and as you know, a pitcher can just turn it on at any point in time. It's just a feeling, right? It's not the stuff that's coming out of his hand. It's mentally, why can't I repeat? Why can't I repeat? And then all of a sudden you repeat it once, have a couple good innings, and all of a sudden, oh, this is the guy. He came back.
White hammered in the trying to keep it going for Arizona. Now Carter Graham has moved off, not holding Maddox Michalakis, the runner at first. Ground ball to second. This should do it. Scooped up. Drew Bowser on to Carter Graham. Ball game, and Stanford back-to-back Pac-12 champions. Conference win number 20, and the Stanford Cardinal have locked up the top seed of the Pac-12 tournament, and they are Pac-12 champions for the second consecutive year.
Well, they were in the preseason poll predicted to win the Pac-12 championship. Mid-season, everybody was kind of like saying, what's wrong with Stanford? What's wrong with Stanford? Well, there's nothing wrong with Stanford. They've clinched the Pac-12 championship, Roxy, with a week to go. Job well done. It's a tremendously coached team, David Esker and the crew, and just a lineup that is locked and loaded for the postseason.
Matt Scott pitches a scoreless ninth, but the Cardinal, as they've been doing all season, Wes, they relied on the long ball again. 4 two-run homers for Stanford today.
4 home today. Boy, did they pitch the ball today against a very, very good Arizona Wildcat offense. Just a great job. Last night, exciting, right? 9-8. Today, well pitched. They just gave up 2 runs, only 6 hits. But this team is coming around to where they want to be. They're getting real hot up and down the lineup. They're throwing the ball very well, Roxy. Sky's the limit, right, for this Stanford Cardinal team when it comes to the postseason right now.
Season high, 6 1/3 innings. Joey Dixon, 5-0, the winner. Homers by Braden Montgomery, Tommy Troy, Carter Graham and Malcolm Moore, and there it is. Pac-12 champions, the Stanford Cardinal. Game 3 of the series, we'll have it at noon for you tomorrow on Mother's Day for Wes Clements and our Pac-12 Network crew, Roxy Bernstein. So long.